My name's Johnston. I'm 26 years old and I'm currently based at Cobajay Stables with Aidan Fitzgerald in County Carlow. I got into racing pretty much from when I was very young. I'd always drag my parents to go to Bratton Down Point to Point in England, and although my parents aren't into horses, we had an Exmoor pony that I'd hunt and show jump and things from very young up until a teenager. I went to university. I got a degree in animal science, and I started riding out racehorses during that time. I rode for Alan King one day a week in Barbary Castle and Victor Dartnell down on Exmoor in England as well. And after the degree in animal science, I thought I'd better do something else with it as well, so I went to the Royal Veterinary College and got a master's in veterinary epidemiology, which took me to Hong Kong, where I worked with the Hong Kong Jockey Club for a year and researched injuries in their racehorses, which was fantastic to do, really interesting, and being able to see the horses working on the track every day was pretty special as well. But after that I decided office job could be put to bed until I'm old and can't ride anymore. Riding's what I've always wanted to do. So came back to England and bought my first pointer from Joe Tickle down in Devon and started working for Nick and Jane Williams, whose daughter is Lizzie Kelly and whose son is Chester Williams, who both ride, and worked there for about 3 seasons there. Got my point-to-point career up and started eventually. Lockdown didn't help, but we got there in the end, and had a few rides on the track as an amateur for Jane as well, which I'm very grateful for. One of which was after the Fox, who I rode in some hands and heels races, who the Whippet's now named after. She's called Fox as well. And Olberson as well, who I had the privilege to ride in his last race before he retired from running under rules, which was pretty special as well. So after that, during my time there, I spoke to Lizzie Kelly in the summer and said I wanted something to do and go somewhere else for the off-season, and she recommended coming to Willie Mullins. So I came there for just under 3 months, the summer before last. Loved every minute of it, being able to be working with top-class horses and jockeys and being on such sort of a buzz of a team was brilliant. So loved that. Came back to England for the following season and then came over to Cobajay the following year for the summer, which was last summer now. And the plan was to stay there for 5 weeks and then come back to England again. But I love Ireland, love being part of the point-to-point horses and working with the young horses as they're coming up through. So decided to stay on, and this is my first season here now. I'm riding here today and I've been very lucky to ride a few other nice horses for Aidan during my time here so far. So hopefully we'll keep going and with a bit of luck for the rest of the season. I go back to England a fair bit for the point-to-pointing at the weekends over there. I'm very lucky. I got to ride a very good horse of Les Jefford's last season called Broadclist for the owner Sue Trump, who's given me a few winners over there and managed to get me the novice, or was part of the story that got me the leading female novice rider in Devon and Cornwall, which would be my area at home last season, which was brilliant. And another few lovely horses that he's got in his yard, which I've ridden, had the privilege to ride so far this season. So I'm flying backwards and forwards and experiencing the best of Irish and best of English point-to-pointing, which is brilliant. So I'm currently getting the best of both worlds. I love going back to England and racing and pointing over there. I think the atmosphere and the crowds you get, especially in the springtime, everybody's got their picnics out the back of their jeeps, and you've got some of the point-to-points holds after parties after the last race, and you won't leave there until sort of midnight, 1 in the morning sometimes. It's brilliant fun, and there's good racing, and the bunch of people that you get in the weighing room are brilliant. Likewise in Ireland, it's a great group of people. It's slightly more sort of professional and sort of focused on the sellers over here, so you maybe don't quite get that much of the social aspect. But it's brilliant. You come over here and you feel like you need to be at your A game. The standard's high, and there's a lot of good horses which you can see coming up and through, which is brilliant to see what some of the future stars and what they may be. Starting off pointing in England, I was used to the traditional birch style fences. They've all now changed this season to being white as well, so you've got white birch fences in England. Everyone says they're quite a lot smaller than in Ireland. I think the Irish have got the bigger fronts on them and the bigger bellies to them, so I can see why people say that. And you usually have in England for a 3-mile race, you'd usually have 18 fences, whereas here it's generally 15. There's a few less to jump over in Ireland. That and probably the other biggest difference is in England you'd have, well, I always get laughed at over here, you always have valets in England. I'm very lucky there's a lovely valet called Luffy that goes and helps me sort out my lead and make sure I'm weighing out at the right weight and things like that. In Ireland you've got to fend for yourself a bit, which I think is probably a good thing.
So
I spoke to Cobajay this morning and he said, keep her in a nice position. Don't go mad before 3 out because it's a long way home.
yeah, it is.
Be patient.
Yeah.
Be patient. Don't, yeah.
The prize money is hugely different over in Ireland. You've got proper amounts of money to be coming home with, whereas in England you might get first place, but you may only take home £200. It's a huge difference. And sort of £50 to third and things like that, which would only just, or sometimes not even quite cover your entry fee. But there are some great opportunities, especially for the smaller trainers and the younger jockeys in England. You've got some initiatives this season going on where races are restricted to trainers that haven't had any more than 3 winners this season, or you've got some for 8-year-old plus horses with novice riders, or veteran and novice riders only, and that sort of thing, which is brilliant. And it sort of keeps the grassroots level in England where people are doing it for a hobby. The people with one horse that they train themselves and things like that keeps that bit alive, which I think is brilliant to see. In England you'll have a huge variety of people training their horses. You've got some people doing it sort of as a very commercial seller's aspect, and you'll have, the yards aren't necessarily huge, but you'll have people with 20 or 30 horses in training, buying them to produce, or having syndicates with them. But you'll also have the complete opposite end of the spectrum, where you've got farmers with one horse that they ride themselves every morning before they go to work, or get the children to help exercise them, and for them that horse is their whole sort of hobby and going pointing, and they go racing and they bring the children and the dad and the granddad and everyone goes, and riding horses like that actually is really nice to be part of something sort of quite so small, and for them it's important, and you can be part of that experience with them, which is brilliant. I always say if I can be 1% better every time I ride, then a few years down the line, then hopefully there'll be a good improvement. So I keep my head down, keep working hard, and see how far I can get, and hopefully a few more winners in that timeline as well.